Hello everyone, I'm Ray Brownfield, the designated managing broker and owner of LandPro LLC located in Oswego, Illinois. Well, we tried to name this year's seminar not knowing what was really going to happen, and we call it the Uncharted Path. And who would have known a year ago when we did this in Morris, Illinois, and everybody was there and we had a great time, that we would have a 2020 that we now are seeing. So it's an uncharted path, but you know, it's interesting how things are developing. And I had to bring a prop with me to say, did we think last year we'd be carrying these things around? No, I don't think we did, but it's something we do have to do and be cognizant of. So we appreciate your being with us today, and we hope we have a good morning for you all to enjoy. A little advertising is something we have to do for our company, obviously, because we want you to know about us. And it's our mission. Our mission has been and always will be to provide high quality, comprehensive services that maximize the value of real estate through impeccable ethics, professional service, and ongoing education. That's what we're all about at LandPro. We have a great staff. You see me in the center there, and we'll go on. Jason on the left there, he's an AFM and ALC, does a lot of farm management for us and real estate brokerage, and is located with me in Oswego, really doing a great job. And to the right, Pat Thomason, who is from the Decatur area, basically moved over into the Iroquois County area recently and does a lot of brokerage work over in that part of the world. And then down to the lower left to Chip Johnson, he's at Princeton, does a huge amount of work into the Western Illinois area, Bureau County, etc. And of course, a very important person, Sandy Naring, who is our Director of Operations. Without her, we probably wouldn't get much done. And to the right is Dave Oster, and Dave covers Path of Progress and does a really great job in there. So that's our staff, and we're really glad to have them, very professional folks. Sales history, we are so proud. Since 2013, I couldn't believe this number. It's really snuck up on me, but we've sold and acquired $233,577,426 of value within 31 Illinois counties. That's a pretty big spread for our little old company. So we do a lot of traveling, as you can imagine, but we enjoy it. We really enjoy working for our customers and getting the job done. And so the map shows you the counties that we're involved with, and it's just really been a great adventure for us. Sales transaction 2019, we did 21 million, almost 22 million in 19. A lot of things going on in that area, and again, it gives you an idea of what we've been doing in 2019. 2020, our property management. We do a lot of property management for our clients, bank trusts, lots of folks, absentee landowners, investors, and actually we cover a big area. We're at 13,000. We don't want to be the biggest, we just want to be one of the best that does a really great job for everybody out there. And we're in 48 farms. So again, we do a lot of traveling, a lot of mileage on those vehicles, but that's really what it's all about. So we really enjoy it. Dr. Gary Schnitkey, he uses farm management data on revenue and cost to analyze profitability of major field crops and to assess impacts of farm programs on risk. Known Gary for a long time, just does a fantastic job getting all this and risk management strategies. His research informs farmers of the most profitable rotations and encourages long-term change to impact yield. Dr. Schnitkey is a professor at the University of Illinois and the College of Aces, Champaign, Illinois. Dr. Schnitkey, welcome to the program. It's all yours.
All right, this is Gary Schnitkey, and I'm going to provide an outlook for the year and what is happening with COVID-19. I'm going to cover two topics today. First off, we're going to look at an income outlook, and I'm going to provide estimates of what 2020 looks like, as well as 2021. Basically, what we're looking forward to is the returns that exist in agriculture under that topic. Then I'm going to turn and talk a little bit about what we expect cash rents and farmland prices to look over the next several years. Overall, we expect the incomes to be tight over the next year, particularly if we do not get any additional federal aid, ad hoc federal aid. But we expect cash rents and farmland prices to be relatively stable. So that's the outlook in a nutshell. And now first we're going to turn to the income outlook for 2020. Overall, USDA is projecting very good yields for Illinois. In its August report, the USDA estimated that the Illinois state yield was going to be 207 bushels per acre. That would be the second highest yield that we had, with the yield from 2018 being the next highest yield, or the higher yield than what we're looking at in 2020. Whether or not that happens, that yield is an open question. That yield was released in the early part of August, with weather up through August. Since we've been in August, we've had a drought, and that drought, or it has been dry, and we are officially put into a drought situation in northern and central Illinois. So that yield may come down, but in any case, it's a good yield. We're looking at 16 bushels above trend line yield if that 207 holds. So that would be, again, another year above trend line. And we've seen quite a few of those, in particular since 2012. Soybeans are projected to be very good again, 64 bushels per acre for the entire state of Illinois. That would be the second highest yield. 2018 would have had a higher yield. We again are projecting, or USDA is projecting, that the soybean yields would be 8 bushels above the trend line yield of 56 bushels per acre. Overall, again, another great yield for Illinois. Again, we've seen very dry weather in the last part of August, early part of September, so that may be taking something off of those yields. We get some rain here in the very near future, we could see those yields build a bit, but overall right now, from the August report, you would be expecting those yields a bit down from the levels that we are showing here. But still, overall, a good year for both corn and soybean yields across Illinois. And overall, also Northern Illinois will likely have a much better year yield-wise than they did last year. USDA, or WASDE, released their price estimates on August 12th, 2020. And in that report, they estimate the national corn yield to be 181.8 bushels per acre, and the 2019 market year average price, which just ended here with the end of August, to be $360. That would be down from previous years, but $360 is what they were estimating the price on 2019 crop to be sold at. As they're looking at the 2020 crop, USDA is estimating that the price will be $3.10 for the 2020 crop. That is the crop that's being, or will soon begin to be harvested. So USDA is coming in with a $3.10 price for that corn yield. That would be well below the 2019 crop. Reason why largely that's coming down is because of COVID-19 control measures that have been implemented. Those measures have hit corn more than soybean because of the ethanol impact. Soybeans are estimated at 53.3 bushels per acre, or that would be the national yield. The 2019 market year average price is estimated at $8.55. 2020 market year average price for this coming crop is expected to average $8.35 per bushel. Again, down considerably from the 2019 crop. Having said that, we've seen we've seen soybean prices rise in recent weeks, and it's considerably above that price right now. So we'll see where that ends up. But $8.35 would be much lower than the $8.55 price that we're looking at for 2019. That's what we're looking at price-wise. ARC PLC is a program that makes commodity title payments. We are expecting modest levels to be received in October 2020. So this coming 2020, we will be receiving ARC PLC payments. We're expecting modest levels, but the payment in October 2020 is related to the 2019 year. So those payments would be for the 2019 year. We're expecting, again, modest levels, something in the overall, if you average it over corn and soybeans, something in the $10 to $15 to $20 range. That is going to vary a lot across counties, and we will wait and see. Those farms that had their entire acreage in prevent plant, which were quite a few in northern Illinois, or there were some farms in that situation in northern Illinois, those farms could be getting large payments if they enrolled in ARC-IC. For 2021, in 2021, which would be the 2020 ARC PLC payment, we're expecting higher amounts. Again, that will depend on prices and yields for that matter, if some farms took a ARC program, but probably looking at for the 2020 crop received in October 2021, something in the $30-ish to $40 range. And that's sort of where we're going to be at for projection wise for ARC PLC in 2020. So earlier this year, there was the Corona Food Assistant Program, CFAP. The deadline to sign up for that program is September 11th. For corn and soybeans, that payment was made based on the 2019 crop, and it was the lower of 50% of 2019 production or the grain that was unpriced in the inventory on January 15, 2020. Those payment rates were 33.5 cents per bushel for corn, 47.5 cents for soybeans, and those payments came in two payments, 80% of the total, and now 20% of the total, and that second payment is now being made. Overall, that's obviously good. The payments are going to vary across farms depending on how much unpriced grain there existed on January 15th, 2020. It's likely that most farms, and you're going to see our estimates of those farms, and that's going to vary by corn or soybeans, sort of $20, $30, $40 per acre range. Again, that is being received based on the 2019 crop. When we show budgets, we're going to show those payments related to the 2019 crop. There are other federal aid out there this year, and we saw WHIP, which is Wildlife Hurricanes Protection Program. WHIP Plus, there will be some payments on WHIP Plus that farmers received this year. Many farmers also took advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program and EIDL, or Economic Injury Disaster Loans. Those are for businesses. They are run through the SBA program, Small Business Administration federal branch. Some farmers took advantage of those. So we have those four sources of federal aid. There is also an anticipation of an additional CFAP MFP payment for the 2020 crop, and you're going to see what we're anticipating there. That has not been legislated. It hasn't been federally announced. So far, we've seen political stalemate over what those payments might be. In general, those payments are part of a larger program impacting the whole economy that's being debated by Congress. Again, we are anticipating perhaps an additional CFAP MFP payment like for on the 2020 crop. Those payments, CFAP, MFP, have been very important to income in the last several years and likely are going to be important moving forward. I want to show now our budgets for 2020 preliminary. You see here corn and soybeans, corn on the left, soybeans on the right. 2018 and 2019 are actual values. They're largely complete. The results there are from FBFM farms. So the numbers that you're looking at there are actual numbers from farms. So in 2018, we had a 237 bushel yield average in central Illinois across on high productivity land. That was 208 in 2019 for corn. As we're looking at that projection for 2020, we're building in a 233 and we're putting in a 320 price. That 320 price is based on what WASDE was projecting before. It's higher than that because prices in Illinois tend to be higher. Soybeans, 73 bushel yield in 2020, up from 2019 levels, and we're using 845 price there. One item to note, if you're in a northern Illinois situation, the 2019 yield was much lower. We saw very, very low yields or lower yields across much of northern Illinois. And the wet weather that was very predominant in 2019, which was much, much greater in northern Illinois and southern Illinois. Central Illinois was less impacted by the wet weather and in fact got most of its crop planted. There was a lot of prevent plant acres in northern Illinois in 2019. You can see for corn, crop revenue in 2019 was $759 per acre. That is found by yield times price. We are projecting a $15 payment. That is what will be received in October 2020, modest levels of payments. Last year, we estimate the MFP payment on 2019 crop was $82 per acre. That's in yellow. That's what we would classify as ad hoc disaster assistance. And you can see for corn there that CFAP payment is $31. That CFAP payment is based on 40% of that 208 times the rates that we showed earlier. And again, that was received this year, but it was related to the 2019 crop. $14 of crop insurance payment to result in that 901 worth value of gross revenue. For 2020, here is what we're looking at for revenue. 746 if we get that 233 bushel yield, 320 price. Our PLC payments, we're estimating at $45 per acre. That's based on that 310 price and what prices or what we saw for the farmer selections. No MFP payments, and you'll see in there a $50 CFAP. That's the item that we don't know. We're anticipating it. That may or may not happen. That has been announced by USDA. It's not legislated by by Congress. If we get that $843 or $50, we would have $843 worth of gross revenue. Going over to soybeans, we have $714 of revenue. Non-line costs are likely coming down in 2020. Part of that is lower fertilizer cost as well as drying cost. Operator and land return for corn is $272 per acre. We're projecting a $275 cash rent for Central Illinois high productivity land. That is the same as in 2019. And again, it would be average for farm. The 275 for 2019 is what it's average for 2019. We're just projecting stable rents going into 2020. Farmer return then for corn is -3, $80 for soybeans. Again, both of those are based on $50 of additional payments that haven't been announced. And here is what the farmer return would look like. Again, this would be based on a $275 cash rent. And we're assuming the ad hoc federal payments of $50 in 2020. Those numbers at the bottom are 50-50 corn soybean rotation, which is pretty typical. So we see a farmer return of $104 in 2018, $22 in 2019. $39 in 2020. So a bit higher than last year, but a lot of that is based on ad hoc federal aid. Again, for 2020, there's $50 in that number that haven't been announced as of yet. So that just gives you a feel for where we are at. And that ad hoc federal aid, the MFPs and CFAP have been really critical. All right, I'm going to take us into 2021 now. Next year, this is the budget that will begin to be used to set 2021 cash rents. I'm going to do two scenarios. One is trend yields, 217 bushels per acre for corn, 68 bushels per acre for soybeans, no ad hoc disaster assistance. And I'm going to give an optimistic one. We're going to have above trend yields like we've had except for 2018 and $50 of ad hoc disaster assistance. All right, first the baseline. You saw what we had for 2020. Let's go into 2021. Here is for corn, baseline. Let me show that again. 217 bushel yield per acre, that's that trend line. We're coming up in price, 340, so that gives us 738. We would have an ARC PLC payment of 770 minus non-land cost 202, operator and land return 275, of cash rent minus $73. All right, that's with no MFP, no CFAP payment for 2021. Here's what soybeans look like. So we're going to fill in the 2021 soybean number. 68 would be our trend line yield, and as you can see, we often have above that 860 price. So we're having the prices bounce back in 2021. We are saying that we're having roughly a U-shaped recovery or V-shaped recovery. Things are getting better. 617 would be the gross revenue in that scenario, minus $18 a return. We do those returns I just added, we would be at minus 46. So without any ad hoc disaster assistance or trend line yields, that is what the returns would look like for 2021, excuse me. Now for the optimistic scenario, we're going to have another above trend yield, which we've had quite a lot of, and we're going to have $50 of federal aid. That would get us up to $53 on a return on our 50-50 corn soybean rotation. That's based on a corn yield of $233 per acre, or excuse me, 233 bushels per acre, 340 price, and then $50. I just put a CFAP in there, $50. So you can see there, we get those. We are in the positive again, and a bit actually. That scenario would result in a bit better returns than 2020. Again, we'll see where all that goes as we're moving forward. But as we're sitting here today, ad hoc federal aid, either in the CFAP or MFP programs, are pretty critical in setting up what our revenues returns will look like for 2021. All right, there's what we see. There's the additions, and that's a big deal as far as what that will do to our revenue. Okay. Turning now to cash rents and farmland prices, we're going to take a look at what we would expect those to look like for 2020 and 2021. First, let me just show you what's happened to non-land costs over time. Fertilizer, this is fertilizer. I'm showing you the bigger items on non-land costs. Fertilizers have come down over time. Largely, they're coming down because of lower fertilizer prices. So they've come down from peaks in recent years. Pesticides have been stable to going up, actually going up. We would expect those costs to continue to go up as we're continually having more difficulty with weeds that are herbicide resistant. Those weeds, Roundup Ready resistant weeds, are becoming more and more prevalent. Here's seed. Seed went up from 2008 to 2012 and basically has been stable since then. And power cost went up and then have been stable. So that gives you a feel for cost other than cash rent and what they have been doing. Again, if you look at operator and land returns, and again, I'm showing this for Central Illinois, those green bars show operator and land returns. And then you see the red line for cash rent. As you can see, we had very good returns from 2006 through 2013. Cash rents lagged behind those returns. Since 2014, we've seen basically a break-even situation for cash rented farmland, and in particular in recent years, without ad hoc federal payments, that would be the CFAP, MFPs, we would have seen cash rents be much higher than operator and land returns. So what do we expect to happen? Here, last week, the Illinois Society of Professional Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers released their look at 2021 cash rents. They asked their members what they expected their rents to be. They divided that out by excellent, good, average, and fair productivity farmland. All of those are projected down. 305 was the average rent for excellent quality land of professionally managed farmland, going down to 297. We saw that decline by 2.5%. Again, this is professionally managed farmland. The lower quality farmlands have had bigger declines, or are projected to have bigger declines. Excellent quality farmland holding in there more than the lower quality productivity classes. So that's what professionally farm managers are projecting. Slight decreases on professionally managed land. Again, that would be based on continued federal aid for 2020, likely federal aid for 2021. Recently, average cash rents in Illinois were released by NASS. You can see here the average cash rents for 2020 on the right-hand part of the screen. These are USDA numbers, and you can see where those are listed. Highest rents are in the central part of the state. DeKalb County has a higher rent with 262. Again, these are average cash rents, and there's a lot of variability within a county because productivity varies, and even on one tract to the next, there's quite a bit of variability of cash rents. In general, you professionally managed farmlands react more as prices go up, and as you've seen in the last slide, come down more than other average cash rents. And right now, professionally managed rents are probably a bit higher than the average cash rents in the county. Having said that, so we're seeing returns to farmland, returns to farmland, and the cash rents, if anything, facing downward pressure. At the same time, I want to tell you that we, me, and others, don't expect much change in farmland prices. We would expect stable farmland prices into 2020, 2021, and probably for the foreseeable future. Part of the story of why that's happening is if you look at interest rates. Interest rates are at historic lows, and I'm just showing the 10-year constant maturity Treasury note rate. And in August 2020, that was 0.65. If you're old like I am, you probably remember the 1981 rate of 15.84%. So we're down quite a bit from that point in time. We always keep saying interest rates can get lower, but they have been. I thought that after 2008, we would see some bounce up in rates. Haven't seen it. And Fed this past week, at the end of August, announced targets of keeping money supply abundant and interest rates low. So you probably should be anticipating those interest rates to remain low for the foreseeable future. Given that you're seeing interest rates low, that's also the value of the alternative investment. You shouldn't be thinking about farmland prices declining. And in fact, over the past several years in the Midwest, we've seen farmland prices remain stable. And in Illinois in particular, from the 2020 price is roughly stable from 2019. When we asked the Illinois Society last week, majority of people expected those prices to remain stable for the remainder of 2020. And even going out to 2020 or 5 years from now, most of our respondents either expected those prices to remain stable or increase less than 10%, which is basically holding their own. Again, a lot of that has to do with interest rates. And then if you think about all the variability that exists out there in the stock market, farmland doesn't look like a bad investment. So summary here, we would expect lower returns in 2020 and 21. Ad hoc federal aid is key to 2020 and 21 returns, as are above trend yields. We don't get a combination of above trend yields and ad hoc payments. Returns look very low in agriculture. Even given that, we don't expect prices or cash rents to decline much. However, if we have next year, 2021, with low prices and no ad hoc federal payment, there will be a lot of low incomes in 2021. Prices likely stable. Interest rates are low, and farmland looks like a good investment compared to stocks and a lot of other investments. Appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to this, and we will take questions during your period.
Thanks, Gary. As always, really informative. I know you're a kind of boots on the ground kind of guy that really knows what's going on out there, and we greatly appreciate your presentation. Remember, everybody, Q&A. Gary's available, Dan's still available to do Q&A, and I will be available after my presentation for Q&A as well. So we really like questions, and hopefully that'll be helpful to everybody. Gary makes some good points in his presentation. Of course, this is the time of year that we began looking at leases for 2021, and you would think there would be some downward pressure, and they may be, but right now it's too early to really say for sure. We'll see where these yields go. We'll see where these crop prices go. Right now we're seeing a little upward bounce on the corn and bean market. We hope that continues to be. And weather can always be the unknown, as we all know. Derecho that hit Iowa, we hope we don't get that again. But you just don't know until you get it in the bin. So I think most of us in farm management business will probably maybe take a look at the leases to be starting talking about them, but maybe through the harvest period, just see how it's really going, and hopefully we all come out to where we feel that it was the best job we can do possible. I want to get into some areas now that I'll delve into. The Illinois land market is pretty interesting. And I've got 5 different types of land I want to talk about with you. Farmland, number 1, recreational hunting, getaway type, and the residential. I don't do much residential work, but we can talk about that in a minute. Commercial real estate and path of progress. Farmland. Really stable, very stable sale prices right now, and maybe for the year we're looking at maybe up 1%. A lot of my friends in Realtors Land Institute nationwide, we talk, brokers for all the country, and they're seeing about the same thing in most states right now, that it's a stable, a pretty good market that people find themselves in, and say it's maybe up 1%. Why would that possibly be? Well, it may be that people say, hey, this stock market's got a lot of volatility to it, as we've seen in the last several days. I'm sure they're capturing some gains. It'll be up and down, but we do see people still very involved in looking to buy farmland. And so it's a low inventory. There's just not much out there right now to pick from, and there's fewer auctions, at least at this point in time. When we look at the newspaper, usually there's a page or two that just talk about farm auctions. That's not the case as of yet. Now that could change, but right now we just feel that it's not the case. So we're seeing the good high quality soils in Illinois. We call them Class A, the 133 to 147 PI, which is what we go by on Class A. If they're well drained, they're highly tillable, they're going for anywhere from $10,200 an acre up to $11,500, and it all depends on the area as to what they may bring. But it really is a pretty strong market in that regard for the really good things. The lesser quality, the lesser tillable, poorer drainage doesn't have nearly that upside, and it's going to be a lot more picky market as you would expect. So we see that kind of land in the $5,500 to $9,500 an acre bracket. There's such a wide spread in that type of a market in the B and C type soils. So we just have to say that's kind of the range that we're looking at out there. Location is always so important. We see a differential in the land market in Illinois, even from township to township, certainly from county to county in some case. So it may be one township, a stronger market for whatever reason, maybe more investor types, maybe a little different soil types, maybe a little better drainage districts, etc. But it's amazing. It could be the same soil quality, but it may vary $500 an acre from one township to another, or maybe several miles from each other. So it's really something you can't put a rubber stamp on and say, hey, this is the market for that area. Not necessarily true. So if you have farmland that you're thinking about selling, it may not be the same as the neighbor down the road. It could be better or maybe a little worse. We don't know. Sometimes we do an analysis for people so we can kind of get an idea. Okay, what are we looking at here? As I say, it's a very selective market, as you would expect. It should be. And so people take a really good look at it. They're looking at what will it do for them. Why would they buy a particular farm? And that's a good thing to do. They say farm value can vary from, like say $200 to $500 per acre within 5 to 10 miles, which I kind of already said. Most of the buyers we work with are farmers and landowners. They're adding acreage to their long-term hold. Real return on investment is less important to them, although it's important to, I think, everybody. But I think most of the farmers and the people we work with on buying land, they're looking to add to their existing portfolio, and also probably looking down the road for their family, to have something they can have to hold, and hopefully with good estate planning will go a long ways, hopefully down the road to great-grandkids and so on and so forth. So I hope that can happen for them, but they're the people that we do a lot of work with. We also work with investors, and that's a little different type of a community. They're looking for larger parcels usually, not the small ones necessarily. So they really don't make a highly competitive market to the local farmers, because the local farmer usually isn't in that bracket of wanting 600, 700, 1,000 acres at a pop, whereas investors can do that and will. They're also looking at a 5 to 15-year hold, the investors are. So at some point in time, due to the way they're structured, that land will probably come back to the market in a period of time. But they're looking at a return on investment in the 3% or higher level if they can get it. That's not easy to get today. It really gets down again to rents and quality of land and what they end up paying for it. So two different markets there is in that regard, but we have the experience in our company working with both, and it's really kind of interesting to do, and we enjoy it. Farmland is it's a time element for the 1031 market. They do have the 45 days from the time that they do close on their first transaction to identify another transaction. We're seeing 1031 markets still out there, and it's a good market. It's a highly motivated market when people are looking for land. Sometimes we see they wait too long, and they're very picky, as I would be too, and then all at once that 45 days is almost expired, and now if they don't get the job done, they do pay capital gains on their previous sale. So something we all have to watch, but again, we work a lot with 1031 buyers and enjoy that, and really a nice market to work with. Many sellers are families diverting of multiple ownership. We see that, in fact, is all the time. Most of our clients, and I think people in our business would say the same thing, when farmland does sell, usually, it's because there's multiple family members that are at an age level where they're saying, it's probably time to split up the holdings. There may be 3, 4, 5, 6 people involved. And that's when you divide it by 6, and maybe it's an 80 acres, maybe it's 160 acres, 220. They're really saying, it's easier to divide the money than it is the land. So maybe that's the way to go. So many of the clients that I think all of us in our industry work with are in that bracket, and particularly the baby boomers, as we all are getting older. We're probably going to see a little more of that as time goes on. But it also provides opportunities for buyers to come back into the market and take advantage of those opportunities and continue to be in the agricultural business, which is what we all want to be. Well, let's talk about recreational hunting and getaway. Due to COVID-19 and the social unrest, it's really creating more interest in that type of land. In our company and many others that we know out there work with these kinds of real estate tracts, and we're seeing a really increased interest in folks looking to get out of a big area like Chicago, for instance, that are saying, you know, I've had enough of this. I really do need a better feeling that I can be out. And we're finding most of those people would prefer to 5 or 10 acre tracts if they can find them, which are extremely hard to find. The larger tracts at 200 to 300 acre size may be a bit more than what they want to put down for money at this point in time, although I can see that changing in the future with some buyers perhaps. But it's just an idea of, let's just get out. Let's get out in the country. And so in our business and our other business in real estate, I think we're seeing more of that kind of buyer coming to look at buying that type of land. There's high demand for like I say, the 5 to 20 acres. There's a low inventory. So the prices are up there pretty good in many cases. They'll range from $3,000 to $6,500 an acre and maybe more. It depends on the location and where they're at. In fact, that picture that's on the screen right now is a property that we have just south of Chicago. It's called Lake Olivia, and it's got a 40-acre lake on it, and so it's really a nice property for somebody, and we have people starting to look at it a little better, so we hope we maybe get that sold someday to somebody that's going to enjoy that. Being close, but far out too. Residential, we don't do much residential work, but I will tell you this. I live in Naperville, Illinois, and I'm seeing houses selling about as fast as they come on the market, and we see that again of a movement out of these high population areas back out into the suburbs, and I think due to the COVID and also the social unrest, people are looking at that marketplace. So I see houses that they're not on the market maybe than 3 to 4 weeks, and that's a pretty strong market, and I think they're getting pretty good prices. So they're looking for good schools, they're looking for good transportation options. Interest rates are very favorable today on all land purchases, so that's another reason I think you're seeing land stay pretty stable and good. We're seeing homes, at least in the area I'm in, the mid-range from $250,000 to $550,000 just selling very, very quickly. So it tells me again, it's because of the changing, we call the uncharted path, I guess we're looking at right now, is people are changing. They're changing the way they do it. And we're seeing people say, you know, I don't have to work downtown anymore. I found that I can work from home very easily and kind of like that. And I don't have to ride the train. And then, you know, that affects that economy from that viewpoint, but also on the other hand, it is a trade-off for different economies. In this case, the residential market, I think, is really getting some advantage to that. So who knows where this is all going to go. I mean, things can change, as we all know, and as we've been around long enough to see that. But that's what's happening today. Commercial real estate, we do a little bit of that kind of work. The COVID-19 and social unrest is affecting downtown Chicago, as I just said. We're seeing people say their businesses, we don't need them. I don't know if I'd want to be a commercial real estate salesperson or broker downtown Chicago today. They will have some opportunities, but it's going to be a tough market, I think, as you see more vacancies coming up and trying to get those spaces filled, that we're getting a pretty good rental rate or purchase price. And I really feel sorry for the restaurant people that are really taking it hard. It's a terrible situation for those folks. So I really feel bad for those folks. We see more online buying because that's just what's going on out there. And by doing that, we're finding that there's a need for distribution centers, and there has been for quite some time, but now it's even greater because people that didn't use online are now doing it because they don't want to have to worry about COVID-19. They don't want to go necessarily to the store and shop, and they've gotten used to it. And my wife's a great example. She just loves online. That's about all the way she buys. Even get groceries that way these days if you want to. So we're seeing more of these distribution centers coming in around the Chicago area where there's really good access to interstate highways, good interchanges. They're going up at a really rapid pace, and they're really large buildings. So I think some of them are 1 million square feet, which is a huge amount of space out there, but we're seeing that happen. So if you do have land in an area where there's a potential for that. It may be an opportunity to get a pretty good price for that. Money just doesn't seem to be an issue if it's a desirable location. So that's kind of what we're finding in that area. I'll give you an example of some land that we all know about. It's now public information, so I can tell you this. 504 acres, 65 miles west of Chicago, just off Interstate, in this case I-88, not too far from DeKalb. The land itself is Class A ground. It's really some good ground out there, and probably the market price for that for pure farmland would have been around 11,000 an acre, maybe a little bit more. Facebook came in and they wanted to be a data collection center, paid $80,275 per acre. I'd love to have been the broker on that one. That whoever got that deal probably is in really, really good shape, and congratulations to them. But that's what you see in a case like all the social media and all the things that are going on out there. There is what I call cause and effect in the economy that we work in, and that's one area that continues to grow, and those people are looking for a place to put another data collection center. We see Amazon doing the same things in areas and so on and so forth. So I think that's going to be a continued process as we go down the road. Path of progress, we do some work in that regard as well. It's highly speculative. Really, the economy hasn't been all that good for continued or new building, if you will, in areas until maybe now. And now begin with all the people are starting to move back out to suburbs. The land that was vacant, that was entitled, already had sewer and water next to it, that's starting to have building coming on it as we speak. But now new land may be something that's being looked at that is a little further out. In fact, the people I work with in our company are very involved with some opportunities in that they said, you know, we hadn't had knocks on the door for several years. All at once we got builders saying, yeah, we kind of look at this a little bit. That's good. That shows me that there's some things going on out there. It'll be a slow market. I don't think it'll be that fast like it was back in the 2000s, early 2000s, where it was crazy. It was just a breakaway type inflation deal. It's settled down to that level, but I think it'll happen. So a little more demand for that. Maybe a little pricing opportunities, although I don't think there's a high premium over ag land value at this point in the path of progress, but still we see some of those opportunities that are just starting to develop. I think the thing that's held a lot of people back is the development concerns of the villages themselves to be able to finance the police departments, the water, the fire department, all costs money, and so they have to pass that on to the developer, and the developer got to a point and said, you know, I can't make this work either, I can't make a profit. I have heard some of the villages now have maybe cut back on it a little bit to maybe attract more business in, because it's taxes for them. So if they can get more building going on, they get more revenue stream, and so maybe we'll see a little more of that coming down the road. As I say, does the property have entitlements? Meaning, does it have sewer and water right next to it? That makes a huge difference, because if you have to run that out another couple miles, the cost is just phenomenal to do such. So it really has to make sense for everybody. Well, we've come almost to an end here, and I just really want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us. I hope you didn't have a lot of problems getting on. I know some of the people registering, I think some of the original emails we sent out went into their junk mail perhaps, and we apologize for that. It's just hard to control some of those things. But we're going to do this again next year. We hope next year we're back together. I miss meeting a lot of you folks that I've known all these years, and many of you that are on today I'd like to meet. And I think next year what we may do, if this is all over, and I certainly hope that it is, we may go back to Jennifer's Garden in Morris, Illinois, but we also may do a program similar to this, to where people, if they want to go up on a system and don't want to travel, they can partake of what we're trying to help them get in good information, or they can come and love to meet them as well. So we just really hope everybody stays safe, healthy, have a great year. Let's get 2020 behind us if we can, as soon as we can, although I don't like to see time pass too quickly anymore. But on the other hand, there's always a great future, I think, ahead for us. And I do think this does create new pathways, as we started to see from all the discussions today and presentations. I say there's a cause and effect to everything, and there's some bad stuff, but there's some good stuff that comes from it. And I think that we'll come out really well. I think that's part of what the United States is all about. So we're very proud of everybody. And I think next year, I see up on the screen September 8th, and we've already got it, the Jennifer's Garden already set up to go. And so we really look forward to seeing all of you. Again, I'll take Q&A after I'm through here as well. And we've got plenty of time, so we had until noon, but I think as time goes on, if it all kind of streams off, we'll probably end and everybody get lunch. So again, thank you so much. We really enjoy serving agriculture and providing the services the best we possibly can to everybody out there, and we really enjoy what you folks do in agriculture as well. Thank you so much. Take care now.